I brought my emotional support bucket with me. Hi, guys. My name is Jo Stevens, and depending on who you ask, that name, that title can change. If you asked my dad, it's Joanna. If you ask my nieces and nephews, it's Nana. My son, it's Mom. My husband, it's Sweetie, most of the time. On paper, I'm CEO. But to myself, well, I've spent much of my life feeling like I'm never quite enough. Today, I'm here to tell you why I'm wrong, and my journey of resilience from the beginning. I am the youngest of 7 children from Alpharetta, Georgia. We grew up with very little. I wore my mom's clothes to school a lot of the time, not because vintage was trendy and cool, but because there wasn't much else. My dad, he worked 3 to 4 jobs at a time, pulling 72-hour shifts that would make him physically ill from exhaustion. One of those jobs was running a janitorial company, which I would get to go help him clean medical offices, dental offices, businesses. Our meals often came from church donations. And my mom, well, the majority of the memories of my mother are her sick and fighting cancer. So from a young age, I learned 2 things. The first was how to fend for myself, and the second was that resilience is really just stubbornness with a purpose. At 15, my parents divorced. I was uprooted from Georgia to Utah with my dad, and my mom moved to Ohio. Because nothing really cues that teenage angst quite like trading in my southern grits for cold winters and Mormon potlucks. By 19, my relationship with my mother was distant. However, her brain cancer had returned, and this time it was terminal. I moved to Ohio to care for her for 3 of the last 9 months of her life. And those months taught me more about resilience than any self-help book ever could. Being a mother now, I realized the hole that was left in my life from that distance, and I vowed I would never let my own children feel that. Fast forward, I returned home, I got married a year later, and I was pregnant 3 months after that. I was in a marriage I knew I should not be in from the second that I said I do. It wasn't quite a shotgun wedding, but it was pretty close, guys. My husband had an addiction that he loved more than me. He was in and out of jail consistently, leaving me to raise our son alone. By 23, I was filing for divorce. I had a 2-year-old I had to support, and I had no job. I was desperate, not just for money, but for stability in my life. Here's the thing. I don't regret that marriage, not for 1 second. Why? Well, because I have my beautiful son, obviously. And that marriage taught me one of my greatest lessons in resilience. I can make it through anything. That's not just a Pinterest quote that I have written on my bathroom mirror. That is my real life. I learned that there's always a solution. You might not like the solution. Hell, I rarely ever do. But there is always a next step to take. And my next step was a job. I applied for every job under the sun, and one really stood out to me. A janitor position on Craigslist. Remember, guys, I used to clean offices with my dad. That job changed the course of my entire life. By day, I cleaned a 7,000 square foot home of a family of 6, and by night, I cleaned the office of a company called Law Firm Sites. I scrubbed toilets, I emptied trash cans, I wiped the desks of more successful people than me, and I went above and beyond, doing more than I was asked to prove my worth. My dad always taught me that there is dignity in earning a living and caring for your family, no matter the title. And I was determined to be the best at whatever job that I had. A year later, the receptionist position opened up at Law Firm Sites, and the owner offered it to me. He said, "Jo, I trust you. You got this. You're one of the hardest working people I know." That trust meant everything to me. I was determined not to let him or my son down. From 24 to 36, I got married to the love of my life, the most supportive man that I have ever met, who stood beside me, really held me up, as I climbed the ranks at law firm sites. Janitor, receptionist, project manager, director of development, COO. How? What's my secret? That's usually what people ask me. By outworking everyone else around me consistently. I educated myself on my own time, reading about web development, web design, marketing, HR, business strategies, customer service, everything. I dressed for the job that I wanted and never the job I had. I was usually overdressed. And I learned that success isn't about being the smartest person in the room. It's about being the hardest working one. And at 36, thank you. At 36, I was offered the chance to purchase law firm sites. Me, the poor girl from Georgia, the janitor. It's a really good day. But life was not done testing me, right? Like, that'd be too easy. My mentor and the person who believed in me the last 17 years left the company abruptly the moment the sale went through. No transition, no training, and then started a competing business. For the next 4 years, my husband and I fought a legal battle with someone who I once saw as my biggest cheerleader. At the same time, we're trying to run a business, serve our clients, raise a teenager, and keep our marriage intact. There were nights, a lot of nights, I'm not gonna lie. I'd cry in the dark. I'd wonder if any of it was ever worth it. But every morning, I got up, I put makeup on my face, I put heels on, and I kept going. Because that is what resilience looks like. It may look pretty on the outside, but on the inside, it feels like it's the end. Today, I'm proud to say, spoiler alert, I didn't give up. I am the CEO and the owner of Law Firm Sites, a company that my husband and I together have grown into a multi-million-dollar company with over 4,000 clients nationwide. I went from a low-income family to a struggling single mom to a CEO, from questioning my own worth to mentoring others. But the title doesn't matter. What matters is what I've actually learned along the way. First is that there is dignity in any job, especially the ones that humble you. Second is that hard work beats talent when talent does not work hard. And most importantly, I have learned that enough, that feeling of enough, is not a destination that we arrive at. It is a decision that we make. So to anybody out here listening, feeling like you're stuck, like you're struggling, like you are not enough, keep going and don't quit. Because one day, the janitor just might own the company.